Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our first Draft League Twitter question of Generation 9. I actually tweeted this out, dude, at this point, a little bit over a week ago. I tweeted it out and then immediately got sick, so I haven't gotten the chance to record it, but I'm definitely excited to do this Twitter question with you guys. Today's question is going to be, which Pokemon do you want to try most in Scarlet and Violet Draft Leagues? If you guys are excited for the return of Twitter questions and Draft League content and all that good stuff, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as sub to the channel. We are on our way to 2,000 subs, and I'd really appreciate if you help me out along that goal. I'm still pretty sick right now, as I kind of just mentioned. So if I kind of cut in and out, my voice is a little bit weak, or you see me stopping to get some water every once in a while. I'm just kind of stuck with this respiratory bug right now, so hopefully it'll get better over time. But again, might be a little bit quieter today. I'll probably try to bump it up in editing and things like that. But yeah, that being said, let's jump into it. So as for myself, my pretty obvious answer would be Roaring Moon. I actually have a new logo that I'd like to unveil. I'll pop it on the screen. 3, 2, 1. Bam. Bam. There it is. The new Carolina Roaring Moon logo. I love this thing. New men's new logo. This is going to be our Draft League logo for Generation 9. I'm really excited to use it in the upcoming BBR season. We actually have first pick. And I want you to guess what we might end up. Roaring Moon is the mod I want to try the most, but honestly, I'm a little bit torn because Chen Pao also looks absolutely so much fun in draft. I love it on the ladder, so it's really hard for me to pick. There's so mane cool mods, Iron Valiant and Fluttermane if it's allowed. And Iron Bundle looks fun, and there's so many fun ones, and we're gonna kind of jump into those. First up, we have Kelly right down here saying Lokix. The base speed plus tinted lens plus stabs. I just think it's I think I just rested enough by everything in the meta is super common. I think it could be nuts. I might just be dumb. But Lokix in general, it was a mon that actually initially off of first glances, I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, Bug Dark's cool and tinted lens, but it's slow, it's not that strong. But then I played against it on the ladder and in Wi-Fi battles. It is deceptively strong, man. That thing hits hard with first impressions and sucker punch in the future. It gets axe kick for good fighting coverage as well, so you don't need to rely on that tinted lens. You have coverage, which is really cool. Again, I think its speed tier is a little bit lacking. It's obviously very frail defensively, but as a mid-low tier, fun little breaker momentum grabber in a draft format, I think it could actually be really fun. I could definitely see myself drafting it, so I think that's definitely really cool. Next up, we have J-Bear here saying, after laddering, I want to use the combo of Glimmora and Gholdengo. They go great together. Yes, both of these mons are awesome. In particular, I really want to try Gholdengo. I absolutely want to try it just because of the typing, the insane ability, nasty plot, recover, great coverage. It's just an awesome Pokemon. But with Glimmora, I think it's cool. I know a lot of people are kind of meh on Glimmora in draft right now, and they're ID on it in draft. Which I think is fair because it's definitely going to be a lot better on the ladder than it is in draft. That's just a given. But I do think that its offensive potential is pretty insane. It's Nihilego, but stronger and with Earth Power. Obviously, Nihi does different things. Now, I'm not saying in a nutshell, it's Nihi. It's slower than Nihi, so it's not going to function as well as a sweeper, endgame cleaner kind of thing. But offensively, it's a little bit stronger than Nihi, and if positioned well, I think offensive-ass Glimmoras with dual stabs plus Earth Power is going to be really tough for a lot of teams to deal with, and having an ability that automatically sets T-spikes if you're hit by a physical move is so unbelievably annoying in prep. I've prepped against Glimmoras already. I drafted Glimmora in a league, in a showdown league, and I remember I think I brought it on lead, and I didn't even prioritize getting up hazards turn 1. I was a sash lead set, but I led against a Meowscarada, and I was like, yo, I'm just going to take a Sludge Bomb damage on whatever comes in. Picked me a KO turn 1, got up a T-Spike, and then the next thing came in, didn't elect to kill me right away, tried to set up a Dragon Dance, I think it was a Baxcalibur, and I set up a Spike, and then I died, and I had a T-Spike, Spike, and something dead, or 2 T-Spikes, a Spike, and something dead, just for existing, which is pretty darn insane. It's pretty over-centralizing on prep as well, the amount of hazards this thing gets, and again, especially with that Gholdengo pairing, this is the main thing that J-Bear is kind of pushing, is that good as gold ability, blocking any defog, it's ghost typing, blocking any rapid spin, tidy up being the only way to really get rid of hazards, or a mold breaker defog, or what do you call it, Halucha, or just offensively killing Gholdengo on the switch and then removing, but even then, you kind of kept up your hazards and things are going to be annoying. So I think this combo is definitely really, really solid, and I would love to use either of these Pokemon together or just on their own. I think they're going to be awesome. Next up, we have Kanto Chris here saying, how how is that Steelworm card? Mr. Wiggle's ability's cool as fuck, and the move pool can't be that bad, right? How do you even kill that thing? So I believe he's talking about Orthworm, which definitely looks really, really cool. I think that Orthworm could be a lot of fun as like a mid-tier steal. I think it gets dual hazards. I'm like 99% sure it gets dual hazards. Now let me check. Excuse me. Let's see. I know it gets Stealth Rock. Let's see. Does it get Spike? It does get Spike, so that's pretty darn cool. It has a really, really meaty defense stat, so very Steelix-esque vibes when you look at its stat spread. It does have access to Shed-Tail, but Shed-Tail will probably be banned in most leagues. I know the leagues that I'm playing in have just banned the move outright. Not that it's broken on Orthworm, but the move is broken in concept. But if your league does allow it, that is definitely an option. It can coil, it can body press, it has good coverage, it's a pretty annoying mod, and having a steel type that's immune to ground is always going to be a valuable thing, especially when it like benefits from getting hit by a ground type move. It's like ground type water absorb, which is really, really cool, opposed to just like levitate. So I like that a lot. I think Orthworm could be a really cool low tier steal for sure. Next up here, we do have Thriller Sing. I would say in terms of the new forms of Pokemon, definitely Roaring Moon. And then as for new monsters, it's a toss up between Ceruledge, Kilowattrel. Those two seem to be the most fun since using them in my first playthrough. It's cool to see how like playthroughs kind of influence and make people go like, oh, I want to try this mon, which is pretty darn cool. Roaring Moon, I already talked about it. Of course, that mon's gonna be dope. It's a new men's form. But the other two, Ceruledge, which is definitely an interesting one. I've seen a lot of people give this thing some hype. I'm a bit let down by its very mediocre speed tier in 85, but it is incredibly strong with base 125 attack. It has Shadow Sneak, it has Flash Fires and immunity, it has weak armor as well, so there's ways that you can proc your weak armor. Does it get Endure? It does get Endure, so that's a way of proccing it, as well as being Focus Sash, as well as just coming in on resisted hits, things like that. It gets Close Combat, plus Fire, plus Ghost, which is incredible coverage. Bitter Blade's a really strong move, as well as just Flare Blitz as an option. You can Flame Charge up. You can do a lot of things. You can SD. You can even Will-O-Wisp. I think that this thing could be a lot of fun. If you find ways to circumvent its mediocre speed tier. Man, if this thing was like 105 base speed, it'd be a demon. It'd be so good. And I think it really is a letdown that it's not faster, but not the end of the world. And then Kilowattrel is just basically baby Zapdos, but fast, I guess. Really mediocre stats spread, except for that 105 base special attack, which is okay, and then that great 125 speed, and a very top-heavy speed metagame where like a lot of the really great mons are really fast, but speed kind of does end up falling off. So having a low to mid-tier Pokemon that can pick up that speed for you is great. Wind Power is a bit of a niche ability, but it has two great abilities in Volt Absorb and Competitive. Both have great uses, especially in Draft. It also gets U-Turn as an electric type, which is awesome. It can Hurricane, and it's just, again, the dual stab combination of electric flying offensively is great, and defensively is very solid. Even on a Pokemon as frail as this, with 70, 60, 60 bulk, you can get some defensive utility out of a Pokemon that, has that electric immunity plus electric flying defensive typing. I think that's definitely really, really cool. Okay, next up we have our good friend Badass Frostos here saying, Brambleghast. He's probably going to be real underwhelming, but I like him. Oh no, John's going to throw a fit, isn't he? Let's see, what does Brambleghast even really do is my question. I actually have not looked at this Pokemon in the slightest, so let's go ahead and give him some spotlight. Now, it doesn't have Infiltrate as well as Wind Rider. It's decently strong with 115 attack and 90 speed, which is definitely interesting, as well as Rapid Spin. I typed in Rapid Spin because he looks like he gets it. It does get Spikes as well as Strength Stab, so I guess there's definitely some viability from it. Grass Ghost is a really solid typing as well. I think it's very underwhelming bulk wise, which really sucks, because like using this thing as a Grass Ghost pivot and spinner and things like that could have been really cool, as well as an offensive spiker. I really see that kind of being like where it really makes its name as like an offensive spiker. It does get Shadow Sneak, which is cool. Other than that, though, its physical Ghost Stab is really, really lacking outside of Phantom Force, which is not a very reliable or great move. It can't really Shadow Claw without any fingers or anything like that either, so definitely probably going to be a little bit of an underwhelming mon, but that's draft, baby. You can use the mons that you think are cool, even if they're not the best. Next up, we have Trexo here saying Cetitan and Scovillain weather. It looks crazy in a pre-home meta. A lot of the times, it always feels like weather is going to be really, really solid in pre-home metas and airs and things like that. I think Cetitan is an interesting one because I think it has viability outside of the snow. I'm going to keep calling it hail because I'm a Pokemon boomer, and we reserve the right to call things what they used to be called, because we've been in the game for a minute. But Cetitan has some viability outside of the hail. It has that base 170 HP stat alongside thick fat, so with like an assault vest, it could be pretty solid. It has base 73 speed, which is very usable, alongside something like sheer force or like sheer force life orb sets. It gets ice shard for priority. I don't think it gets like any like real setup. But really, I think it's more so here to kind of click offensive button as superpower and earthquake and what do you call it, ice shard and play rough and a bunch of really really cool coverage moves. And obviously in the snow, it's really strong and it's very, very bulky on the physical side, getting that 1.5 defense boost and things like that. So I think Cetitan could be really, really cool. I'm definitely kind of have my eye out on that mod. I'm hoping it's not this gen's Barraskewda, and if you know, you know. But I definitely think it's pretty darn cool. Scovillain also looks like a cool guy, especially because I think Sun is going to see a big bump in, not viability. I think Sun is going to be drafted a lot more often than it was in Generation 8, especially in like early Paldea formats and things like that, because of the fact that the past Paradox Pokemon do get that benefit from whatever photosynthesis. I think it's photosynthesis, because photosynthesis is what real plants do. Photosynthesis, them getting the boost from that from Torkoal kind of inherently gives Scovillain a pretty solid niche, especially being that like things like Venusaur aren't in the game. So it is the premier, Sun Sweeper right now. It is very strong under the sun with a growth up. I saw it Terrifier get a growth up and Oko Salamence with Flamethrower under the sun. Just like raw, just 100%. And I don't even think it was Life Orb. So this thing can be very, very strong and very, very potent. Other than that, it's a bit mediocre. I think like Venusaur would be a little bit better, but that's the joy of a limited deck. So I think actually Scovillain has a pretty cool niche right now. Okay, next up we have Casper here saying Garganacl, which is definitely a really cool one. It has been everybody's goat in their playthrough. It is a very bulky rock with reliable recovery, and it punishes waters and steals for switching in with something like. Yeah, it can be really annoying. Salt Cure is incredibly annoying. Recover on the rock type is great. Just Edgequake coverage or like Salt Cure Body Press can be incredibly annoying. You can run like Iron Defense variants and like boost up for your body press that's there. It's pretty annoying with Terra too, like into like Terra Water and Terra Fairy I've seen. And not only is it a rock with reliable recovery, it's also a status absorber, and it's also a ghost resist, which is incredible in a format like this. Something I didn't really notice until I actually started drafting and playing. It's really, really hard to find good ghost immunities and ghost resist in this format. There's not a lot of good normals and fat darks that really switch in and take those moves very well. So I think that Garganacl has a really solid niche in this early meta for sure. Okay. Next up, we have Vivid, and he says the Pepperfuck, which I'm pretty sure we just talked about the Pepperfuck, which is pretty cool. So we talked about that one. Definitely think it's pretty dope. Then we have Marcus here with, I'm pretty sure Chinese lettering, because I'm pretty sure he told me that this is the Pokemon he's excited about, which is Chi-Yu, I'm presuming is what he's referring to. One of the new, like, legendary, like, the Rune Quartet, is what I've been calling them. And it's definitely a scary Pokemon. I think, like, Chen Pao kind of took my spotlight, and then Ting Lu was also so good defensively. Wo Chen is kind of like the awkward Tapu Bulu of the group, but Chi-Yu is Tapu Lele. That's what Chi-Yu is, and change my mind. You can't. I will not elaborate any further. Chi-Yu is Tapu Lele, and it is very strong. With Beads of Ruin, reducing the set of everything by 25%, and then Dark plus Fire stab combo is really tough to deal with. There's not a lot of things that resist that dual stab coverage, and even if they do, a lot of those things don't have reliable recovery. Things like a Azumarill even that switch into this thing just don't appreciate switching in over long term, especially if it's like Specs with like Overheat. You're taking a fucking junk from that. Even if you're like AV, even if you're thick fat, all these mons that might switch into you well are taking damage from it. It also can nasty plot up, which is a really cool aspect of it. I think it could be very solid with Terra, getting some nice and needed third coverage slot options, which could be really cool. And yeah, it's overall a very, very solid Pokemon. It defensively has like almost no counterplay. It's a bit slower for its frailty, but it has a really fat Spadef set actually. 120? What the hell? I did not know that. Okay, this one's a demon. Yeah, I definitely want to try Chi-Yu. Holy crap. Alright. Next up, we have Lars here saying, great Tusk 100%. I love the typing. The stats are insane, and the move pool is godlike. One of my favorite new mons already. Yes, I think it's a great like round 2 pairing with so many of the new top tier mons. Especially if they introduce so many like ghost and dark types. Great Tusk like naturally fits so well with those. Another really cool niche that I think Great Tusk has is like a really good knockoff user. It's also one of the best spinners into like Gholdengo teams in my opinion, just because like you can even, not only are they kind of forced into like air balloon sets without being rocked by Earthquake or Headlong Rush, but even if they're air balloon variants, you have knock. Which is going to rock it, and then you just 2-hit KO it because you do outspeed it, and then you can spin a little bit later, which is always nice. So I think that it's really, really solid. It beats most hazard setters too, so it's a very reliable setter as well. You can even run with booster energy sets and just get an instant little boost to your attack, do some damage. Like, it's really, really solid offensively. I like Great Tusk a ton. Like, it's a great Pokemon. And then we also have Specs, Boomburst, Terra, Finizen, and LC. Sounds great. I'd try that. You know what? I have not touched LC yet because I heard it's absolute chaos right now, as it always is early gen, but I'll keep that in mind when we come back to LC in a few months here or something like that. Speaking of Finizen, we have Joe here talking about Palafin here. He said it's going to be broken as hell if he uses one flip turn and activates that ability. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty demonic. Now, there obviously is an opportunity cost, and it's a bit annoying to try and set that up, but not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And even then, you don't even have to flip turn out. You can just switch, and then you have an absolute monster the next time it comes in. I think that the bulk up sets aren't going to be as oppressive in Draft League as they were on like a ladder setting, just because we can prep and counter team for those things. But I think like the combination of that plus like the thing being banned, that thing being Life Orb, that thing being Scarf is going to make that thing a demon in draft and really tough to deal with over the course of the game, especially with proper team support and things around it. Like, I think that Palafin is going to be really scary. Palafin Rain sounds crazy right now, so that could be pretty cool. Next up, we have Fran here saying Kingambit is a beast, and I agree. What a sick design too. One of my favorites of the generation. But Kingambit's definitely really cool. I actually did recently draft this in a Showdown League, and it put in some work in its first game. And I've seen it put in work for other people so far already as well. Now, you do have that crippling 4x fighting weakness, as well as a pretty slow and low speed tier, but 2 great abilities in either Supreme Overlord as well as Defiant. You have great priority in Sucker Punch. You can Swords Dance up and sweep and win the game like that. Or you can Cowtown, Cleave, and Iron Head your way through. You can low kick. You got Stealth Rock as well, which is a great tool on a fat, bulky steel like that. So it's definitely really cool. I like Kingambit a lot. I think it might be a little bit overhyped right now, but in general, like as a Pokemon, it's very solid. It's just a little overpriced in some places from what I've seen. Next up, we have Stremy here saying, "Give me Scream Tail, big Jigglypuff." Now, I've actually seen this thing already put in disgusting amounts of work. This is going to be the Amel Pokemon of this generation. For those of you who don't know, Amel, reoccurring face on the channel, one of my good buddies. Love Amel to death. He's a great player, and he always has like these weird Pokemon that he just like thrives and just prospers with. And I think that Screamtail is going to be one of them. He keeps drafting them in Speed Tours. I know he drafted in a league recently too, and he keeps smashing people with this Pokemon with base 65 in its attacks, with like setup variants and like offensive variants. I remember we played in a Speed Tour, and this motherfucker brought like offensive Dazzling Gleam and it OHKO'd my Hydra, and I just didn't think I didn't think defensive would OHKO me, and I ended up like losing the game because of it too. So it's gonna be a Demon Amon. I think it's really cool though. It has like some great utility. If you can play around its passivity offensively, with like dual screens, it has like Wish with a fat HP stat. It has Encore. It has a bunch of really cool tools. It has Perish Song. I've seen it done a lot of really cool things. So definitely an awesome mon for sure. It can bulk up and Calm Mind as well too. So nice. Okay, next up we have Skyrander saying, "I think after beating the game, Skeledirge kind of speaks to me. Fun defensive typing. It is an incredible defensive typing." And I've seen this thing lose some stupid hits for no reason. Like, its bulk, especially on the Phys side, is so nuts. I've not seen a physical super effective move OHKO this thing yet. At least in my personal experience. I'm sure there's some really strong Pokemon that will OHKO with physical attacks. But I've been seeing it live some dumb hits. I've been seeing it just eating up Quaquaval hits and just doing a ton of damage back. So I definitely, whether it be in game or on the ladder. So I definitely think that Skeledirge is pretty darn cool. It's great on fatter balanced teams. Unaware is a great ability. Torch Song is an incredible move. I mean, look at Fiery Dance. It's already an incredible move on its own, and they just made it better. So definitely really, really awesome. Next up here, we have Roy Mustang or Flameark saying Iron Bundle. I want to try good Delibird, which is definitely fair. Not only good Delibird, uber Delibird. Now, Iron Bundle will not be as good in draft as it is on Smogon. Now, that's not to say it'll be bad. I think it'll be incredible. But it does really lack that versatility that a lot of draft mons need to thrive and be at the top of the metagame. You're like Dragabolts of the world and things like that. But like I said, it doesn't mean it's not going to be great. It's still going to be strong. It's going to throw off Hydro Pumps and Freeze Dries and Ice Beams and Flip Turns and U-Turns and Encores and all that fun stuff. It really is just all it needs, taunts and things like that. So again, it's going to be a very strong Pokemon, and it's going to be cool to see Big Delibird pop off in a non-Dynamax setting like it did for us in MLG. So, you know, we originated that. Next up, we have Sandy Simmies here saying Great Tusk and Cetitan, which are two mons that we just went over, unfortunately, but I do agree. Then we have Seth here saying both of the Donphan... both of the Donphan forms. The Primate Evolution is an S plus rank, and a Tauros Fanboy has the new regional forms of it. I think that we already talked about Great Tusk. I think that Iron Treads will definitely be really cool. It's just really fast Excadrill, which is incredible. It's already incredible defensive typing. It's very bulky. It spreads knockoffs like what do you call it? A good friend Great Tusk does, which is again very, very valuable in this metagame, in my opinion. Your Rapid Spin. And you're just an absolute nuisance. You could be really strong offensively. It gets cool coverage like Wild Charge. It also gets Volt Switch, which is a really, really valuable tool. So definitely an awesome Pokemon. Annihilape is going to be incredible, whether it be with bulk up variants with Rage Fist or just Scarf variants, Band variants, Life Orb, things like that. It's going to be incredibly annoying. Defiance is a great ability, especially annoying in draft. And Rage Fist is proven to be a nuts move. So I think, like I know in particular the league that I tiered for in Wi-Fi, I have it a little under tiered because I didn't really understand the power of Rage Fist and how that move worked. So now that I know that, I think I probably would have put it higher than we initially did. But that's what early gen's for. It's for fucking up on the what do you call it, draft board, and then people getting funny ones. So yeah, I definitely think that Annihilape is going to be a demon. And then Tauros, they're pretty darn cool. They get Intim. They're not as good offensively as regular Tauros with Sheer Force and a better speed tier, but they're still very good offensively, and they have really cool dual typings as well as move pools and things like that. And if you draft them, typically I've seen most leagues being like pooling them together. So having a firefighting and a water fighting in one Pokemon, one slot with Intim is always going to be valuable. So pretty darn cool for sure. Then we have Pokemon Trainer Orange here saying, I tried Quaquaval and Orthworm recently, loving Aqua Step plus Moxie and U-Turn on the Duck. Orthworm eats most grounds alive. So we talked about Orthworm already. Quaquaval is another starter we haven't talked about yet. But again, it definitely looked really cool. Whether it be Swords Dance variants, Choice Band variants, Choice Scarf variants, Momentum, it gets Rapid Spin, it gets Swords Dance like we said, or Bulk Up, it can Roost. It gets great coverage overall. I definitely think it'll be really cool. And Water Fighting is an incredible offensive typing, like we saw with Urshifu Rapid Strike in the previous generation. It's going to be a very strong Pokemon, and it's pretty darn cool. So I'm definitely here for the Quaquaval. Next, we have Talenting. I think Tinkaton will be insane defensively and offensively this gen. The Dual Steel Fairy typing is wild. I wish I could agree, because I love the Pokemon's design. I use it in my in-game team, and that's how I know for sure this thing won't be very good, unfortunately. I think it'll definitely have a niche. There's not a lot of fairies or steals in the gen, so it's going to be drafted. It's going to be solid enough in its own role. It can rock. It has, you know, decent coverage and things like that. The only issue is it's just so piss weak. It's like base 70-something attack. I don't remember exactly what it is. I'm not even going to look it up. It's going to make me upset because I think they should have made the Pokemon's attack stat comically high. Or maybe even giving it huge power or something like that. I get that's kind of like a Mawile ripoff, but like, I don't know. With the way they present the Pokemon, they really made it lame, unfortunately. At least, like, stat-wise. I wish it was a little bit stronger. I think it would be awesome, but I don't know. Next up, we have Puffer Place here saying Quaquaval. I'm biased, it's easily my favorite mon this gen, but I think its signature move, played with Moxie, will be fun to play around with. I even think Bandit will be really strong, so it's like Scarf, SD, Bulk Up will be fun. Even AV could be cool with solid bulk. Yep, we just talked about Quaquaval. Definitely a really cool mon. And we have Idru here saying Iron Moth and Reverum. These are the two only ones I've used a lot of times, and I love them. Very good models defensively. Give Reverum a try. So Iron Moth definitely looks really cool. That's Future Volcarona. Fire Poison is an incredible typing defensively, or offensively, sorry. Not defensively, actually, at all. It's bad defensive typing. But offensively, it's very good. It has great coverage overall between, like, Gleam, Energy Ball, Hurricane, Discharge, things like that. So it's very strong in that regard. It can agility up and sweep. I already have a guide on the channel on Iron Moth. I think it's going to be really, really solid in draft. And then Reverum is definitely an interesting one. Speed Boost is... Does it get Speed Boost? What did Reverum get? Now I have to look and see what Reverum gets, because I don't want to sound like an idiot. It gets Filter, which is definitely interesting alongside like Shift Gear. I think the biggest issue with it is it really struggles with steals. You have Overheat technically, but you also have 54 special attack, so you don't really have Overheat as like coverage. But you know, you can definitely rock with something there, I suppose. You also get Bulldoze, I think. That's your like main way of hitting steals. Like maybe if that was Earthquake, you'd be able to do a little bit more. Like Earthquake, Shift Gear, Iron Head, fourth move. Could be pretty darn cool. But again, not the end of the world. It does get Toxic and Toxic Spikes, which is going to be inherently valuable. And Steel Poison is pretty unique typing defensively. This is definitely a fairy killer if I've ever seen one. So that's pretty cool. It does get Magnet Rise as well, which is pretty neat. Some cool little tech, but yeah, I don't know how great it'll be, but it's definitely a cool mon. I like it shiny. I think it's shiny like gold. But yeah. And then we also have Foxroar saying if Terra's allowed, Terra Skeledirge is hella fun. We already talked about Skeledirge, and I have seen Fairy Terra on the ladder a ton. Yeah, let me show you. That is going to be our first Twitter question. Let me know in the comments which Pokemon you want to try the most in a Scarlet and Violet draft league. Maybe we'll end up drafting in our first draft. I think draft analysis will go up like next weekend. So that'll be pretty cool. I really like my team there. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, let me know if you guys have an idea for another Twitter question. I want to get another one out soon. I'm still, again, bringing myself back up and trying to feel better, but it's a process, so I appreciate you guys sticking with me. And yeah, that's that.